But yeah, we're on this marriage burnout um, series, and it's been going really good. I think, have any of you been enjoying it? Those of you that have been here, I see a couple of new names that haven't been in, but hopefully you all have been enjoying it, and it's been laying out some things for you, either helping you, preparing you, or restoring you in some type of way. So, but we're going to jump right in. Had our little moment of chattering around. So let's just jump right in and get to it and get through it. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Tracy.
So, welcome everyone. It's nice to see you all back, and especially after the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope it was good for you all. For the ones who have not been in here, we have had several sessions in regards to marriage burnout, from where, what it is. I'm sorry, I can't even speak right now. What it is, all the way until what we're going to talk about today, which are some signs of it, and hopefully we will get to how do we overcome it. um, that is the goal for today, because today is going to be my last day with Zara until maybe the end, maybe a couple weeks from now. Well, probably like 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever it is. And if we need to continue, we will. And then we'll also see if to take up do another topic as well. So instead of kind of going around and talking about what we talked about before, or kind of giving you a summary, actually, let me go ahead and do that. So, just in case you all don't remember what marriage burnout is, actually, let me ask you that. What is marriage burnout for the ones that have been here? Pop quiz, just like in class, and you get
Pop
extra
quiz.
and you get extra credit for saying Zara's my favorite line of Zara's.
I don't think they're going to remember that. I hope they remember it though.
Oh, James.
Is it the feeling of feeling exhausted
Uh huh.
over a certain period of time?
You're heading that way, yeah. Can you give a little bit more?
So like you get burned out emotionally, spiritually, and just the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase is over.
It's way over.
So yeah, you just get exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like every day. What did I tell Czar in the group chat? I said sometimes I would leave the house just to go get toilet paper, just so I could have my sense of peace to be alone for a couple minutes. Or
Ooh.
I would purposely take the toilet paper out just to go to the store and get more.
Oh goodness gracious. You sound like
Yeah.
you sound like you're almost close to Zara's favorite saying that I like to say.
What is it? Questions, comments, concerns. Uh,
Nope.
No,
Nope.
Zara, what do I like to say?
OVER. It's over it.
Yes, that is Beth Ann. It looks like your hand is up.
She's going to try to cheat. Don't try to cheat, Beth Ann. I already said it. Go ahead, Beth Ann.
Okay, so it's when you've gone above and beyond and you stayed too long, like me,
Mm.
Oh gosh.
and the person just does not have a growth mindset.
Hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it because you can't choose for another person. You can only choose for yourself.
You're 100%
So,
correct. I guess. Yes, you cannot make any choices for anybody else. The only person you are in control of is you. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So, and then there's of course some expectations, what's real and what's not.
Mm.
And so we don't ever want to settle, but we do have to be realistic about what we want. And so at that point, we've also talked about some stages of our marriage, and we focused on romantic love, disillusionment, distraction, some resolution, some adjustment to it. So we've also talked a little bit about that. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and talk about some signs. a marital burnout. So you all have kind of started touching upon it. And one of those is those feeling of hopelessness. Like when you get to a point that you feel just completely hopeless, like there's no way anything's going to change, where you're just like, as I like to say, over it, or Zara likes to say, you're over everything. That's one of the signs. We also have the other signs of just feeling trapped. Like I, you don't feel like you're going anywhere. And how I always kind of like to say it is, maybe to make it very extreme, and maybe it'll help you to see it, is feel like you're in a prison or you're in a cage and you just can't get out of it. And as you mentioned earlier, James, like you're looking for excuses not to be at home because you don't know, and you're just tired of being there. You're tired of arguing, because that's another one. You're just constantly arguing. And so instead of arguing every time, you're like, okay, let's see. Oh, I can do some overtime at work. Let's do overtime at work. I can, oh, my friend is asking me to do something. I'm going to go do it. You're looking for reasons to not be there. Or you even prefer to be alone. Sometimes you want to be with others. Sometimes you want to be by yourself. You just don't want to be around that person. Then there's some other ones, like you have unexplained discomfort. Like you don't know why you feel the way you feel. There's no way of explaining it. Like you've got that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, could be, one of them is that your sixth sense telling you there's something wrong? Or is it just you knowing that there's something's wrong there? Your body's telling you that you don't need to be there, or you don't want to be there. You don't, and sometimes you can't even understand it or can't pinpoint what it is about it, and sometimes you just start questioning yourself. Is this what I'm feeling? Is this real? Or is it something you're like, it may not be real? Like this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to anybody else. It's just that that's one other one. And then on top of that, your stress levels in other areas are also increased. So, for example, you're a little bit more grouchier at work. You're a little bit more grouchier with kids. You're a little bit more grouchier with any interaction with anybody, and you really can't explain why. So, or you can explain it, you don't want to accept it, because that's a lot of times what we get to a point that we just don't want to accept where we're at. So that's when our stress levels continue to increase and we get tired. And sometimes we just find ourselves sleeping more. And then now you've got some physical manifestations of all the feelings that you're feeling inside that you haven't addressed yet or haven't even thought about yet. So I'm going to stop there for a second because I've talked and I need to cough, and I don't want to cough in your ear. So share, what do you think of what I'm saying?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this so far, you all? Do you have any of you experienced any of those signs that she's talking about? Yeah, I see a few hearts, so that means some of you. Anybody want to share what that's been like for you in those experiences? Welcome in, Carissa and Carly. We're just talking about right now. We're talking about the signs of marriage burnout. Go ahead, Jose.
Hi. Yeah, I think I felt a few of these over my entire relationship with my wife. I'm sure she has felt the same. Um, we've been together 16 years now, and we have 3 kids, and we just, yeah, like after years and years and years of just kind of doing the same thing, you kind of do get a little burnt out, or and she does. I do notice, like, sometimes she'll, like, whenever she gets home from work or whatever, she'll stay out in her car for like 5 minutes before she comes in. Um, which I think is good. I think everyone should do that, kind of maybe like to decompress, from the work life to the home life. But I felt this just like over and over, kind of just like at different parts of our relationship, and it's not fun because I mean we both still want to work it out, I guess, and just keep going forward. But it's just very odd when when you get together at such a young age and you don't really even know who you are yourself, and you kind of learn who you are as so you kind of like are growing up together, and then at the end of it you're just like, well, do I really want to be with this person, or you know what I'm saying? It's just
Mm,
very weird.
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And thank you for sharing that, because that is where we were. I know how we had talked about last time, getting to that point of resolution. Where are you at? Are you resolving and you're going to be content, or are you going to resolve this and settle and just realize or think in your mind that this isn't going to get any better. This is the best that you're going to get. So that's kind of somewhat of what I've heard a little bit. Some other ones that um, signs are lack of motivation. Like
Mm,
you don't want to do anything, and not together, and sometimes you don't even want to do anything by yourself. But the thing about that is that when you are feeling lack of motivated, your spouse in the same sense might be feeling that you are neglecting them or you're taking them for granted. So there's that idea that while you are losing motivation because you're exhausted from everything, the other person is actually seeing it as a direct, I should say, like um, almost as if you don't care anymore. And maybe in reality, you don't, because now you're just tired. And sometimes at that point as well, that's sometimes when people think that they don't actually, when you'll hear somebody say, I'm no longer in love with you anymore. That's that time that they're saying, I don't feel that love anymore. But that also, well, when we get to the point of talking about how to overcome it, that point can be, you can always find that love again. It just means that you've got to make the effort. Once again, making the effort is the hardest part about it. Um, and then also when you actually disconnect from each other. So it could be simple as one's in one room, one's in the other, and this is a constant where there's always going to be two different TVs going on. There's two different activities going on, and you actually prefer it that way. You prefer to be by yourself and instead of spending time with each other, because you need that me time to decompress, not only from yourself or with your workday, as Jose mentioned, but you have to decompress from each other. And that's part of that marriage burnout we're talking about. The other one is that when I actually started talking about it, not getting your needs met, not getting your emotional needs met, not getting your physical needs met, just or your spiritual, all of your needs are not being met at this point, because you just don't have the energy to give to somebody else, and they probably don't have the energy to give to you either. So it's a combination of both of you at this point, where you're not feeling like you're moving forward. The other one is that you're constantly thinking about divorce. What is it going to be like on the other side? If we were no longer together, what would that look like? It starts to seem more reasonable. You start talking to friends about it. You start kind of testing the waters a little bit. You might even start threatening divorce at this point. And there's something also to be said about making threats. About, we don't ever want to do that. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Don't threaten to do it. It's not that. It becomes more of like a manipulative tool. But you start thinking about it. And so you're actually thinking about your exit plan. You're making that exit plan. And that's where it becomes very difficult. And that's that sign that you are seriously burnt out. The other part of it is when you're feeling like you're walking on eggshells. You're walking on eggshells around each other. You feel like you can't say anything. You feel like every time you speak that you're faced with criticism, or you just are afraid of saying anything because you know very well that it'll lead to an argument. So you start holding things in. And as you start holding things in and you start internalizing it, that is when, of course, you are now using more of your emotional, how would I say, crate, if you want to say that, or your crate emotional tube, where you just don't have any emotions or emotional capacity to give to anybody else because you are full. The other one is sometimes you even feel like you're being controlled. So, as I had mentioned earlier, feeling like you are trapped and you're sitting in a prison because you feel like they want everything that you have to say, it doesn't count and it doesn't matter. Another sign of it is you're always in a bad mood. So sometimes just being aware of ourselves and the way we're feeling helps to actually pick up on the whether or not you're feeling burnt out. Because if you're always in a bad mood, there's something else. There's a deeper problem. And it's going to continue to grow. And everybody's going to feel it. Another one is low self-esteem. How do you feel about yourself? Is your self being negated every single day? Are you feeling like your self-esteem, you're losing who you are as a person? Because we don't want to be codependent on anybody else. We want to be interdependent. So you want to be able to have your own hobbies, your own thoughts that is separate from your spouse. But if you feel like your self-esteem is lowering being around that person, then of course, that's a sign of your burnout. So real quick, any thoughts on that?
You know, Dr. Tracy, I was thinking as you were listing some of those, it sounds like how we talk about depression.
Mm, yes.
Mm, yeah. Clarita, go ahead. I see
There's
your
some
hand.
Yeah, I just have a question. Um, when is it? How can people tell whether it's a phase that they might be able to get through, as opposed to a red flag that means that there's no way out of it? Because I know that sometimes people go through that, and then people have come out of it and found love again with each other, like you said. You mentioned that if you don't, doesn't mean that because you don't feel love that you're not going to find it again.
hmm So the answer to that question is, how do you know? Is if you're both committed. That is really how you.
That's very good.
Good answer.
Yes,
I'm sitting over here like, yeah, good answer.
that's really good. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, because you got to remember, a marriage is a commitment of two people. And if you're both committed, you can do a whole lot. But if you're not committed, and if there's only one of you committed, you can't do it by yourself. There's no way. Because that's when you're going to be constantly giving and giving and giving in this relationship and not getting anything in return, which is going to increase that burnout. Any other thoughts on that? And I actually see some new people coming in, Czar.
We have new folks come in. Welcome in,
We do
folks.
have.
Welcome in, June, Jeff. Who else I see? Carissa. Hey, welcome. Welcome, Carissa. Welcome to the platform as well. Did I miss
And
anybody? Jay. Hey,
yes,
Jay. I see Jay and Carly. You are welcome in. We've just been talking about some of the, Dr. Tracy's been laying out some of the signs of burnout, and then she just opened the floor for a few questions and things in regards to that. So feel free, jump right in and join us in the conversation.
quiet. Okay.
hmm Quiet
It's
group
all
today.
good. It's good. It's good.
They're
So
thinking.
they're thinking, yes. Actually, James wants to join our conversation.
Hi. So when you are feeling like, as Zara would say, OVERIT, when you're feeling over it and you get to that point, uh, do you feel like you check out the rest of your marriage? Because for me, when I was married, uh, I felt like my soul was just tired, like every day. Uh, and I was just like, I'm just so tired. Like, I'm just, but at the same time, that was throughout the whole marriage. Like, once I felt like that once, I was like, that's how I felt every day.
Mm.
Does that
Oh
make
wow.
sense?
hmm So it sort of just hit you, like you felt like that once, and that just set course for the rest of the days in the marriage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, there were some good days, but then Zara,
Yeah.
as you know, what happened with me, it came all the other stuff. So that's when I think my soul was just like, I'm just like, I can't, like, I'm just tired. Like, cause it's
Mhm.
difficult. It's different when your mind is tired, but when your soul is tired, that's just when it's like, okay, uh, time for a break. Something got to give. So that's how I felt. It ended up being like that every day throughout the marriage because every day throughout the marriage, or at least within like a couple of weeks after we got married, that's when everything started to happen, especially with like the abuse and stuff. But there were some good days to where I was like, okay, maybe it could get better, but then realistically, I was like, no. So it just felt like that, especially every night. So that's why I asked that question because do you do you I think most times I think we hope to not feel that way, but feel that tired or that drain. But my question um, is it uh, is it always or will you always feel that way? Or will things change and be different over time?
Well, the question that's going to be dependent on the person and the relationship. I could just say it's going to be dependent because there is no one yes that's going to be that way forever and ever. But what I did hear though is you mentioned one huge thing that is very hard to overcome, and that's abuse. So if there's abuse in there, or if it's a toxic relationship, it's more about being safe than anything else. And if you're not safe, then regardless if it's burnout or not, it's the trauma of the relationship is going to take over. And that in itself is exhausting. So
Yeah,
there has to
that's what.
be,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was saying that's what I'm saying. Like when so in my case, right? I'll just be transparent. In my case, with the abuse and stuff, on top of being newly married, uh, and trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. Uh, it's not just the marriage burnout, but then you have that on top of it, and then like you have every other factor that plays into it. So for me, that's why like marriage was burnt out. Like for example, now my oldest sister's about to get married, and she's getting married in Jamaica in a couple of weeks, and New Year's Eve. Okay, cool. But now it's like I really don't want to go, not because it's in Jamaica, but because like the word marriage burned me out from
Mm.
from the marriage that I was in. So
Mm,
like you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
Um,
I see what you're saying. But what I actually hear is that there's still more trauma. There's trauma which is going to be different than the marriage. and what you've associated, and I've kind of talked a little bit about it, is that conditioning. So what has happened is that the word marriage has now, you've been conditioned to see it as negative. And that's got to do with the trauma. So it's going to be a little bit different than actually being burnt out, because if you're in that situation, you're not safe. And you have to feel safe in your marriage.
Yeah.
And so if you're not feeling safe in your marriage, then that's just a whole different level.
Wow.
Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. So yeah, that made a lot of sense. And well, now I'm out, but yeah, that made a lot of sense. And I think for a lot of us in these groups, we go through not similar situations, but we go through daily life situations, which the stress of marriage and everything else. Yeah, I get it. I like this group because they don't talk about it enough like that in life. So I like this group.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. So one other thing, let's go ahead and also talks about some other signs of it. How often do you get blamed? There's always the blame game. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And that is going to be part of it as well. And then also avoiding talking about the future. Oh my gosh. Let's plan a vacation. Let's not plan a vacation. Let's plan this. No, let's not talk about this. Well, what are we going to do in 10 years? Oh, well, you know what? Let's get till tomorrow. That's avoiding the future talk. And then, of course, any lack of motivation to even try to improve it. Like, I don't want to, like, it's like, well, and I've heard this, like, I say, let's go to counseling. Nope, don't want to go to counseling. Okay, well, we're going to go, but who's going to schedule that appointment? So there's no follow through.
Mm.
So those are also some signs as well. So we're just kind of, those are some brief ones. I know there's tons more, but we don't have time to talk about all of them. So
Wow.
Thoughts, Zara, you want to share your thoughts real quick?
No, just thinking about the like how my mind was going to how easily we can fall into this place in our relationships. Because again, I see a lot of people skirting around talking about issues, and when things kind of come up, and then you look up and because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, the terminology is I looked up and I was just over it," or as I would say, overit. I just looked up and I was over it. And it just makes my mind, as you were laying some of these things out, some of these signs of how many times these signs are present, but we sort of just either table it or say, I'll deal with it later, or that's just how they are. And then later some resentment and maybe even contempt for the significant other kind of kicks in. And then we move to those places like everybody's asking, oh, is this it? Is this just like completely over? Is there no recovery? And things like that. So I was just thinking about that as you were laying out some of those, because these are pretty heavy. And like I said, it sounds like how we would describe people who are even feeling depressed. So it was almost like, I know this is not a diagnosis, but it's almost like this is like marital depression.
Could be,
yeah.
Yeah. It definitely could be, if you want to look at it that, yeah, it definitely is that. If you want to look at it on the emotional aspect of it, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
And you just don't have the emotional capacity to deal with anything else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's kind of get to how to deal with it. Let's talk about this. So you all
right.
Go ahead. We get into the good part of it, and it looks like we actually might be able to have this one over. So If you want to write this down, I'll give you a moment to get a piece of paper on how to get over some marriage burnout. Because me talking about it is one thing, but figuring out how to get through it and past it and get to the other side is another. Now, I'll say it again. If there's something if you're unsafe in any kind of way, I wouldn't say let's get past that, because that means that this relationship has to do a lot more work than what I'm about to tell you.
Right.
So let me know if once y'all are ready and got your piece of papers and pencils or pens or laptops or tablets or whatever else you want to have. Because,
All right. When y'all ready.
It wouldn't be me without giving y'all something to think about on the other side.
Yeah. When you're ready, you can put it in the chat, I'm ready, or either just blurt out, I'm ready. Just want to hear y'all voice. Y'all know I like to hear you all's voice and say, I'm ready. I got it. I see a couple hearts.
I'm ready.
That's what I like to hear. Everybody else is going to do a heart. I knew it.
I'm ready.
All right, cool. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm ready.
There we go. Two more. That's ready. That's actually ready. Don't fake it.
Ready.
All right.
Ready.
That's one more.
Okay. I think almost everybody is. So remember, go ahead.
Welcome, Deborah. Sorry, Deborah jumped in. Welcome, Deborah. We're just right now. We have everybody grab their notebooks and pens and papers, because we're getting ready to talk about how to get through marriage burnout. Yep. Welcome in. Sorry, Dr. Tracey. Go ahead.
No problem. So, if you all remember what I talked about, affection, appreciation, what's the other ones? Attention, my A's. You all remember them all? That was at the beginning.
Attention, affection. Anybody else remember? Acceptance was one of them. Appreciation. Those are four I remember.
Well, it was only 4. There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
So remember, we have to, and we talked about expectations and settling. So instead of focusing on your expectations for yourself or the marriage, think about, what do you appreciate? What do you appreciate about the marriage? What do you appreciate about your person? And then if you focus on what you appreciate, how do you show that appreciation?
That's good. That piece right there, that last tag on it, to show it. Because it's like there's so many things that we generally tend to think about, but then we never really actually put the action to it. Mm-hmm. So that just jumped out at me. I like that.
And then while you're showing it, why don't you use your words and say it? Say those words. Say, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But not even say, I appreciate you, but how? Why? What did I do that you appreciated?
Yeah.
And think about that. If I tell you, hey, Zar, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for hosting this and doing such a phenomenal job. It hits different than just saying, I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Can I add to that, Dr. Tracey?
Please do.
Saying how it affected you, or how their being affects you too. Because one, it can't be refuted. Nobody can tell you how you feel, right? So I appreciate you for hosting this masterclass. And when you do things like this, it makes me feel blah, 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 blah. Carries so much weight in terms of appreciating someone else. Yeah.
But remember to show it too. So
yeah.
I guess that means that means I owe you dinner if I come to Vegas, huh?
That's right. No, and I'll buy dessert.
See, that's how that works.
Yeah, reciprocity.
Exactly. And then I see, yes. And then I see Zar feels blah. Okay, then the next one is compassion. Being compassionate. because you have to also remember not everybody's going to have a good day.
Mm.
You're not going to have a good day. So it's not even being compassionate with them. It's also being compassionate with yourself, giving yourself grace, giving yourself the opportunity to say, I have to have self-compassion, but while I'm having self-compassion, I also have to put myself in their shoes and realizing that everything's not going to be perfect. It's not going to have the best days. And I have to remember that they're human too. And sometimes we have such a high expectation for somebody else that we forget that they're also a human being with feelings, and they have, especially with somebody who doesn't speak about their feelings very often and who doesn't actually show it, it's actually harder because you have this thoughts like, oh, they're always so strong, they're always this and they're always that. But in reality, they have emotions too, whether or not they show it.
That's good.
Another one is be respectful. No matter what happens, no matter what is being said, be respectful. No matter how angry you are, be respectful. Because in reality, the only person you're in control of is yourself. And I can say, and I've heard it a lot, for the women and everything else, men really need respect. They need respect a lot. And so it's true. Now don't tell me it's not. Tell me
I just heard a little something behind that. Behind that a lot.
A lot. You all do.
You hear that, James? You hear that, Jeff? They get, you hear that, Jose? They're getting on us. Go ahead.
It's true.
Amen.
While you all need respect, we need communication. So be respectful of each other. And even in an argument, be respectful. When you're with somebody, hopefully, by the time you're I should say, after you've been in a relationship with someone for a long time, I was going to rephrase that and say, if once you become intimate, you know this person, that's not necessarily true anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But once you get to know somebody, you know what buttons to push. You know exactly what's going to irritate them. Try to stay away from them buttons. Learning those effective way of communicating. Learning the ways that speaks to that person. You know what needs to be said. You know what you can say, so that they feel a certain kind of way, and you want them to feel that way in a positive way. Be considerate. Be considerate of them, and be considerate of yourself. In a marriage, you've got to also remember it's a two-way street. You're not in it by yourself, but that also means that you have to be considerate of yourself and them. And sometimes we either forget about ourselves, or we forget about them, or we forget about both.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to be considerate. Also, when you're trying, we also at this time need to be consciously spending time with each other. I understand life gets in the way, things happen, whether it be work or kids or school or something, life happens and it gets in the way. But making that conscious effort to spend time with each other, and it could be something simple. It doesn't have to be like an official date. Your date could be going to the grocery store. As long as you all agree on what y'all are doing at the grocery store. Because, you don't want to go in the grocery store and start arguing. You want it to be something good.
I've seen it. Oh, I've
No, we
seen
don't.
it.
We don't want that. We want you to go. We want you all to figure out a time that you are spending time together, and that's even without kids. You don't want them all. The kids don't always have to be with you.
Mm.
There's babysitters, or something even fun is both of y'all take the day off of work if you can. Take the day off of work and go hang
Oh
out
yeah.
together.
Oh yeah.
Go spend the
Ditch
day
work.
together. Yeah. Go play hooky at work sometimes. Go somewhere. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could be a walk in the park.
Mm.
That's devoting some time and really try to. And I would say the goal is to do it at least monthly, but it's better to do it at least weekly. And I'm
Mm.
not saying ditch work weekly.
Oh
Don't.
man.
That's not. No, 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 no. Not weekly, but at least do something. And
Rochelle
when
was
you
ready for that one.
and when you do go out and hang out with each other, don't talk about the kids. That's not that time. Don't talk about work. That's not that time. The time is to actually talk and reconnect with each other. You got to remember when you first start dating somebody, how you can sit there and talk about nothing. You're like, I just talked to this person for 5 hours and I don't know what we talked about.
Hmm.
That's where you want to be at, is talking and devoting that time together. You also want to make sure that you are not causing distress, because you really want to have a trusting relationship. And when I'm saying that is that you don't always want to question your partner's intent. Like, why are you here? Well, I just came to spend some time with you. Well, why are you spending time with me?
Mm.
It's like the same thing as and I laugh and I giggle because it's the same as your child coming up to you and say, hey, dad, hey, mom, I really love you today. And you're like, okay, what you want?
Hmm.
How much you want? What did you do? What did you do? Because you just told me you love me. What do you want? That's not the purpose of spending time together. The purpose of spending time together is to really spend time reconnecting, avoiding any repetition in arguing, because a lot of times our arguments kind of go around and around and around in a circle because it wasn't resolved the first time it came around. Resolve one argument and let it go. We can't constantly bring up something from the past, because otherwise you'll never get anywhere else. I mentioned this earlier, not threatening the relationship, because the reason we don't want to threaten a relationship is because every time you make a threat, that the effectiveness of it goes down.
Wow.
So by the time you say it the 10th time, I don't believe you. It's like, oh, okay, here they go again. And at that time, and then when you're serious, they're like, whoa, 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 what just happened? So we don't ever want to threaten a relationship.
Do you think that, Dr. Tracy, even with that, like I said, I don't believe you when you make those threats. Do you think that it also begins to be a point where the person says, I don't believe in you anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't believe in you. I don't believe in this relationship. And in
Mm-hmm.
all honesty, I don't care to be in it anymore. You get
Yeah.
to that point too. I don't care. You said
Yeah.
what? Oh, okay.
I've seen
And then
that a lot. Mm-hmm.
yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you say. And then I've lost, because actually threats, you actually start losing trust in that person. You start
Mm-hmm.
losing trust in their words. It's the same as, it's something similar. It's like a parent making a promise and they never following through. That's that
Wow.
threat. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy you a PS5 for Christmas. Christmas come around, no PS5. I'm gonna buy it for your birthday. Your birthday comes around, no PS5. And then the next time I'm gonna buy it, and it never comes around. That's the same as making those threats.
Mm.
Because it's like, okay, whatever. And now I don't trust you. We also don't want to stay continuously doing the same routine over and over and over again. Because the more we do the same thing over again, the relationship gets boring. Plan something, do something different. It doesn't have, once again, it doesn't always have to be extravagant. It could be, I'm going to plan something amazing once a year or once every other year. Because if I'm planning something even once every other year, I'm looking forward to that plan for 2 years from now. And remember, and that's also, now I'm talking about the future.
Mm-hmm.
The final one we don't want to do, which is probably is a huge one for a lot of people, is comparing your relationship to others.
Oh.
We don't want to compare, because that relationship on wherever you're looking at that looks all so perfect, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship that looks perfect from the outside, it's not. It's not at all. And your relationship is different than theirs. The same way as I would say, don't compare yourself to others as well. Nobody has walked in your shoes. Nobody has your genetics. Nobody knows what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with your relationship. Their spouse is not the same as you. You're not the same as their spouse. And everybody's different. You all have your own history, your own baggage, your own feelings, your own thoughts. And what's good for you may not be good for them. They have their own stressors too. And of course, whenever you're looking on social media, most people are going to put the good stuff out there. Because nobody wants to see, most people on social media are not airing out their dirty clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I say most. You do have some. And so is it really fair to yourself or to them to do any comparison? So that is how you overcome some marriage burnout. Any
Wow.
thoughts?
Wow.
I've
First
got
of all,
Jill's got. Oh, I hear the hands rubbing together. Okay, what you got?
no, that was just me. That was just me just going, this was good. Like that, this is very good to me. And because of what I do, most of my work is centered around relationships and stuff like that. And a lot of the things that you were laying out, I see, like we're quiet today in here, but it's like, I see this all the time, and it's like, if we just would have these steps or put these into play, we could save ourselves and our relationships potentially so much better, and it's like, these are gems. These are gems here, and especially these, how do we deal with it, and some of these things that we need to do and not do are just spot on to me. So go ahead, June.
I want to say thank you for those tips, and I like how all of them were about kindness and compassion and respect, and it was all about growth. And I see those tips also for self-growth. And if it's just something that we practice within ourselves and then just carry that on as an extension to our relationships, even what you said about doing different things, because we can easily get burnt out and stuck in the monotony, and before you know it, a week, a month, or whatever, years have gone by. But what I heard was try to be present, and that's something that I've practiced a lot in this last year, even tying my shoes, like being aware of where I'm at and accepting and enjoying the moment, um and just being present with a partner or with a friend or whoever you're with. And so I appreciate that it was all about kindness and respect for yourself and for the person that you're with. I really enjoyed the love and kindness that you were spreading in your tips and your message, so thank you.
My pleasure. Because in reality, as you just said, you have to generalize it. It starts with you. Because again, You can't change that person. You can only change you. And I've always said this is that, and I believe I said it at the beginning, at the very first one, is that if you make changes, you yourself make a change. The other person around you won't have a choice but to change, whether they like it or not. They can change for the good or they can change for the bad, but they're going to make a change. And they make a change because there's no way that they can continue to interact with you in the same level and get a different response, because they're looking for the same response or something that they're used to.
Oh, that's good. You done said something good right there.
Yes, and also when you were saying about always be respectful and be kind, even if you're in an argument, I feel like that's how I personally would hang on to my authenticity.
Authentic stuff.
Yes, and who I am at my core, and not turning into ugly or bitter or angry, because that's not who I am or who I'm designed to be. So just hanging on to who you are at your core, and then that's what I was thinking of when you were saying always be respectful, even if you're in an argument.
Yes. It's very important to do so.
Wow. I think that's so powerful, Dr. Tracy, the piece of like you said, when you change, and I've used the example sometimes before. It's like, if you're going to be what you're going to be, if you're going to be this, people here know June know I love trees. If you're going to be an oak tree, generally speaking, someone will break themselves against that oak tree before you break. So it's like, it's really just be who you are, be what you are, like June is talking. And then the other person has to respond to you in what, like you said, Dr. Tracy, they may not like it. They may decide to leave, but they have to respond to who you're showing up as. But if I'm showing up as the same energy, the same burnt out, unavailable, and this, that, and the other, then what else would how can I expect anything different? How can I expect them to even be given an opportunity to change? Or the condition, I always say, provide the conditions for a relationship to thrive. If people walk away after that, there's nothing else we can do anyway.
And they don't deserve you.
There you go. There you go. Wow. Any final thoughts, comments, snide remarks? We got 1 minute left. This has been great. If you've enjoyed this session, as I'm saying this, if you got something to say real quick, just throw your hand up. But if you've enjoyed these sessions, these series, man, just let's see the love. So the hearts on the screen, or whatever, however you want to show your sign, however you want to show your appreciation. Go ahead, Clarita, while we're seeing hearts light up on the screen. I
just want to say thank you. This was very good. And Dr. Tracy, right?
Yeah.
Tracey, yeah. Thank you so much. This was really helpful, and for caring and giving us such good information to work with.
Yes. And listen, if you enjoyed this, please leave a review. We use your reviews to know how to continue with this kind of stuff, and just to see how effective it is for us on Circles, on the app and stuff like this. So please leave a review so that we'll know how this has gone for you, and just showing your love, or showing you, whatever. Y'all know how I am. I say, listen, questions, comments, snide remarks, I'm open to all of it. But this was wonderful. And I think that this really set us up for whether you're in a relationship now, or whether you're planning on getting in one later, or whether you just want to take the principles of these and apply them to your life and how you deal with any relationship in your life. I think everything that Dr. Tracy laid out really in this was principles that you can just plant in your heart, period, for any relationship that we have, of course, specific to a significant other. But I think some of the principles of this just applies to just all across the relational board. Dr. Tracy, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And maybe we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do another one, and we'll do it on self-forgiveness, because that goes along with it.
Y'all want to hear one on self-forgiveness? Do we need a masterclass on self-forgiveness? I think so.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I've been in these audio rooms. We need them.
Big yes.
Yeah. 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 Well, listen, folks, thank you all for being here. One more round for Dr. Tracy. Give my hearts again. Just thank her for spending her weeks with us and sharing all of this valuable information with us, and just her wisdom, expertise, and care, like you said, Clarita. And I appreciate every one of you for being here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for leaving the reviews that you're going to leave. Um, and I guess until next time, we'll
Yeah.
holler.
Enjoy Mickey in the next couple weeks. Enjoy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mickey will be. Is she still here? I think she left already. But yeah, we'll have another masterclass with Mickey in a couple of weeks. I think it's
Next
coming up
week. It's
out.
next week.
Is it
Next
next
week and the
week?
following week. Yep, the next
Okay.
2 weeks. And maybe
Cool.
I think I'm tentatively scheduled for the 22nd.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. All right, folks. That's it. That's a wrap. And I will see y'all next time.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Peace.